Welcome to PACE TV. My name is Angel Alvarez and I'll be your host today. Today we're at the Fleet Science Center in beautiful Balboa Park. And we've got lots of things to tell you about this center, and here to help us is the Communications and Marketing Manager, Carla Neferate. Welcome, Carla.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, I understand the center is named for Reuben H. Fleet. Reuben H. Fleet was quite a character, as I understand it. He was one of the first aviators. He was one of the first airmail pilots. He was like the first Pony Express rider, because he's the one that first took the mail and got a lot of that started. But and then was a naval hero of some kind. But how did they happen to choose him for, or to name the center after Reuben H. Fleet?
He was very interested in sharing his love for engineering and seeing his community get closer to science and technology. So it was more about his passions and wanting to share that with his community right here in San Diego. He was originally from New York, but he ended up moving here after World War II, and he just felt like home here. So he ended up wanting to share that with the community. So we ended up naming the Science Center, the Reuben H. Fleet Space Theater and Science Center.
Now, as I understand, the concept for the center came about in about 1957. There was a group that met and decided that this would be a good thing to do. But then it took almost 13 years for any construction or any I guess, finalizations of plans. Was that just all prep work that had to be done?
Yes, there is a lot of planning, a lot of strategic planning that had to be done by the San Diego Hall of Science, which was in 1957 when they proposed the idea of having a planetarium and a science center right next to it. So it was not only a planetarium, it was not only a theater, it was going to be also a way for people to explore science in a more dynamic kind of way. And this was very new. This was a completely new idea, new concept, so they had to strategize and to get everything together before anything could happen right here in Balboa Park. So the people submitted their ideas from San Diego Hall of Science in 1957. It wasn't until 1965 that it actually got approved, and it wasn't until 1969 that everything really started to come together. So then in 1973 is when the Reuben H. Fleet Space Theater and Science Center opened for the first time in March.
Wow, so that's 16 years that all that, oh wow, that seems like an awful long time to get something going, right?
It takes a lot of work.
Yeah, I'm sure. We have titled this episode of PACE TV, Immersive Experiences.
Yes.
What does that mean? I think of immersive, I think of like learning a language or learning to do anything that you want to do, and the best way to do it is to really dive in and get into it. So is that the kind of thing we're talking about? And if so, what do we mean?
Immersive, it just means that you're inside something else. So one of the best ways to learn something is being put right in the center of it. So we do that with our exhibits in our gallery space. Our exhibits are, you can touch them, you can run through them, you can experience everything in a very different way that a lot of people are used to going to museums and to science centers. So that is one of the parts where we are immersive.
So from what you're saying is there are no do not touch signs, or very few do not touch signs in the center.
It's mostly please do touch. You are encouraged to touch and experience and change things around.
What kind of exhibits, if I were to bring my grandkids here, what kind of things would they be able to see and do and touch?
Well, there's something for every age. We have something for toddlers. It's called Kid City, and that's part of our permanent gallery, so it's always going to be here. And that is basically for kids under 5, and it is a set of different activities that helps them develop their motor skills, and it helps them differentiate different shapes and look at colors and a lot of the basic things that preschoolers and toddlers like really are barely discovering. They can come here and actually surround themselves in that environment, and they can just take over the entire space. So you see that. We also have things that are for the entire family. We have exhibits focusing on electricity, on the power grid, on the way that our water works, just every different kind of thing that happens in our everyday life. We try to show you how science is already part of it. STEM education is already part of your everyday life. STEM meaning science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. All of that is encompassing in your everyday life without even noticing. So this is a fun way to really look at it and experience it in an immersive way, if you will.
Immersive way, okay. That's great. That's great.
The other part that we're immersive is in our High Cuff Giant Dome Theater. In there, we have the entire screen surrounding you. So when you are surrounded by a screen, you feel like you are right in the middle of space, that you're swimming with the fishies in the coral reefs, that you are just anywhere that you are looking at in that screen, you feel like you're inside and you are right next to everything that's happening.
I understand that the center has the second IMAX projector ever created anywhere.
Yes, that was part of the innovation that the Fleet Science Center brought to San Diego and to the world. Not only were they the first to kind of like have that idea of combining a planetarium and a gallery space to explore science a little bit more, but they had the idea of tilting the dome that was normally in planetariums around the world and having it be also a screen for IMAX movies, which IMAX movies was brand new. The first one opened in Canada. The Fleet Science Center, the Space Theater, had projector number 2.
Wow.
It was the longest running IMAX projector for over 48 years.
And then the other thing that I was fascinated with was the nano seam, which you explained. You and I had talked about this a little bit before, but you explained, but I'd like you to explain it again for our audience. What does it mean? I mean, nano seam. Okay, so what's the big difference? Why is that important?
Yeah, so since we opened, we've had upgrades in different parts of the museum and the theater, and one of those upgrades is the nano seam. And what the nano seam allows us to do is look at a picture or look at a film to the planetarium and not see those lines that are typically the end of a panel. So they are so close together that everything is completely seamless. You don't have any other kinds of lines, or it doesn't break anywhere. So it allows you to have a full image and not be distracted by anything else. So the nano seam is something that we got in 2012, I believe. And that is something that just changed the entire way of looking at the dome and seeing the films and the movies and the planetarium shows in a very crisp, sharp kind of way.
Almost seamless.
Mm-hmm.
So the nano seam almost makes it like you went over with a coat of something that make all the seams disappear.
And you covered it all up.
You covered it all up so you see everything. Okay, how big is the theater dome itself? How big is that room? Do you have any idea?
Well, the dome, it has a diameter of 76 feet. So that is the width of the entire dome.
So you're sitting inside at 76 feet from side to side.
Mm-hmm. That is the diameter, and then we fit around 275 seats in our theater. So I would say it's a pretty good size.
Yeah, it's big. It's a big room.
Yes.
It's a big room, so it's not just some little cubbyhole that we have. It's big.
No.
Well, this might be a good time to take a break and take a look at what Mike has to show us in the projection room and see what we're talking about with the projector and the IMAX thing and all of that, and and go to there for just a little bit. It's one of those things. I've always been interested to see how things are done, and so that was a great experience to see some of those things and see how what it actually takes to get that film up onto the dome and then experience what that is really like. Do you show other IMAX films in the dome? I mean, can I see something that I would see at you know, somewhere in Hollywood with you know, in a dome, that I could see IMAX and experience IMAX here in the Fleet Science Center?
That is a great question. So currently, or the way that it has been for the past 48 years, is that we show documentary style films.
Okay.
They would be things that would be interesting, that talk about science, that talk about history, that talk about culture, and a lot of kids would come on field trips. A lot of adults would come to enjoy those films, and they're short. They're about 45 minutes. They're not the full 2 hours, 2.5 hours that you would see with other types of films, like the Hollywood films that you see in other theaters. However, when the new laser projector, laser IMAX projector gets installed, we will be able to show everything right here in the Dome Theater. So you will be able to see blockbuster Hollywood films in the Dome and feel like you're part of it.
What will you do with the old projector?
The old projector, we're keeping it. It's a huge part of our history. It's a huge part of who we are. So we are going to keep it, and we're going to unveil it as an exhibition so that people can see what the world's second IMAX projector looks like and how the technology has evolved over the years, because that is also something that people can see, like, wow, look at the size of just the projector.
Who designs the exhibits, and then what kind of things that they'll teach? Because the world keeps changing, so we can't keep teaching the way we did even 20 or 30 years ago, because so much has changed with cell technology and all the other things we have. So how are the exhibits created, and is there like a committee that works on that, or is it like you just sit in your little cubbyhole and say, oh, I want them to do this? How do you come up with the exhibits?
So we have an entire department that is solely dedicated to our exhibit galleries. We do have two types of exhibits in our galleries right now. We have permanent exhibits, which are part of our collection. They do get upgraded, and they do get redone in a certain way that it's more appealing, and it's easier for people to understand how it still applies to their everyday lives. And that's part of our permanent collection, like how I was mentioning Kid City, like how I was mentioning about electricity and the power grid, and how San Diego's water goes about. We have an illusion gallery, we have a space gallery, of course. So we do have a lot of different exhibits that are designed in-house that are permanent, and we will have them for a very long time. And then we do have another component to our galleries that are traveling exhibitions or temporary exhibitions. And those exhibitions can range from things that have been shown in other parts of the world, and they're just going around in different science centers and they're being hosted by them. And then they end up here. Like we've had exhibits that are all about the workings of the cells. We've had exhibits that are all about Legos and construction and how that teaches engineering from a very young age. We've had exhibits that are about debunking myths. And we've actually even created our own, like for example, Cosplay, which was about kind of like having that nostalgia of like a playground and seeing how there's science in everything and how you can play throwing the ball in a merry-go-round and experience the Coriolis effect and see how it, like, even though you throw it straight, it feels like it curves because you're going round and around. So it had a scientific twist to it, each one of the exhibits, and that was all created in-house, and those take a really long time. But it's always amazing when we can actually showcase what we can do internally, as well as hosting like world-famous exhibitions or have premieres here for other exhibitions created in different countries around the world.
Now, I understand one at the time when I was here, they were holding like a camp. I would imagine a science camp. What kind of things? I mean, what kind of opportunities are there for the schools in the area and for kids in general to come and be part of like a science camp, and what kind of things do they get to do in a science camp?
Oh my goodness, we have so many opportunities for kids to be exposed to science at a very early age. We have something from our Young Scientists, which is like a preschool science class that people can come to. We have camps, seasonal camps like spring, summer, fall, and winter. For every break, we do provide that support to our communities where we offer science camps and STEM camps for kids from first grade or pre-K all the way to 8th grade, and just to keep them engaged in science while they're not at school. And we want to make it fun and engaging, so we try to also put in a little bit of the interest that they have outside of school. So we've done things from like a wizard camp that draws inspiration from Harry Potter. We've had camps that draw inspiration from popular video games, and we teach coding to kids. We do different things to kind of like show them that science, not only is it everywhere, but it could also be cool. It could also be something that they can aspire to. We also have programs, educational programs that help us inspire girls and expose them to science. Because right now we do see that there is still a very small percentage of women who are in the STEM fields. So letting girls know that, hey, you can do this too. This is also something that you can achieve in your life. It's a field that it's open to anyone and everyone, and you can do it too. So we have programs out in the community like SciTech, which is for girls in grades 4 through 6. It's an after-school program. It's a free program that schools can apply to. We also have BWise for girls in middle and high school. It follows them the entire way, and we get them in touch with role models for women who are actually in the field, and they can tell them like what was their path like, what did they do to get there, and maybe see if one of the girls who are in the program in BWise, that maybe they'll get interested in that field and then they will pursue a career.
So just to kind of get them jump started and get
Yeah.
to see somebody else is doing that would be a role model for them.
Yeah.
Was there an original concept that continues, that has been that thread that is, you can see woven throughout the years and that stays there and that you're, you know, like, I guess proud of, or you think that it's a good hallmark that you can see within the center that stays there?
At the beginning, we just wanted to share the science and let them know that it is for everyone and everyone can experience it. In 1998, we went through a renovation that expanded our galleries, almost tripled the size of gallery space that we had available. And then in 2016, we announced that not only were we expanded the types of experiences they could have here in the museum and the Science Center and in our theaters, but also that we had to focus in the entire community, in the entire county of San Diego. So little by little, we've expanded a little bit like our focus and wanted to make sure that everyone can be a part of the STEM world, that everyone can be a part of the power of science.
Has the physical footprint of the building changed?
So when we first opened in 1973, it was just one floor with a small gallery. And then in 1998, when we went through the expansion, we basically expanded in size for the first floor, and then we added a second floor as well.
What is your hope for the fleet, as well as yourself, for the next 5-10 years?
I really do hope that we get to fulfill our mission, which is to realize a San Diego where everyone is connected to the power of science, so that everybody knows what the power of science means.
I understand that the Fleet Science Center is a 501c3, so people can help by donating. Is there an easy way to help, and is that something that the center does? I mean, do they do fundraisers and things so that,
Yeah.
I mean, this place, it costs, I'm sure, a lot of money just to turn the lights on.
Oh,
every day,
yeah.
So, yeah, I'm sure there's always help needed in that area.
So we are a not-for-profit organization. We do rely largely on the revenue coming in from our entrance and admission tickets, our ticket sales, our events, our education programs. But we also have our development side or advancement side, where we see where there is more money needed in order to help our communities, and you want to help us and support our cause and see the San Diego community do better, then everybody can go to our website, fleetscience.org, and then /donate, and they can go directly and donate $5, $20, whatever it is that you feel that would help us, then it's more than welcome, because it helps us fill a lot of our programming that is free. Even while we were closed, we were able to provide a program called Distance Learning Hubs, which was a space for children in grades K through 8. And we would give them a space and we would help them connect to their schools in a safe way. And we would guide them, we would help them connect to their virtual learning, and provide that support that our community needed, because not everyone had the access to technology that they needed. Not everybody had the computers or the Wi-Fi or even just the space. Some parents had to keep working, and there was nobody who could take care of children, and we provided that space after the community told us that it was a need. So it was a direct response, and that 90% of the seats filled in that program were underwritten, so they weren't free for the people who applied and qualified. So all of the donations and anything that people want to give us for the programs can help us create something else that is going to help out our community, create something else that it's going to make a difference right here in San Diego County.
What about volunteers? Are there volunteers here in the center? And if so, do you look for people that have a science background? Is that a requirement, or just be good with people and understand and go learn about something and then come in and...
As long as you want to help us share our mission with other people, we're always taking volunteers. It depends on what you want to do to help us fulfill our mission. So we're always looking for volunteers. One of the things that makes us different from a lot of other places is that everything that we do, we make sure that people realize that they're helping us get one step closer to fulfilling our mission.
What other ways could people contact you to find out about the immersive experiences at the Fleet Science Center?
Yes, all kinds of immersive experiences are available for people to check out in our website at fleetscience.org. They can also call us and talk to someone at 619-238-1233. And they can follow us on social media at Fleet Science. Wherever they are active, we are active. We are on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Pinterest, you name it. So we are available on the social platforms, online. They could call us, or they can come in person. We're here to help and help you be part of our immersive experiences.
Okay, so if you're there, we're there.
Yes.
Right? Okay. Thank you very much, Carla. We appreciate the time and effort going into this. We thank you for watching, and we hope that you learned something about the Fleet Science Center here at Balboa Park, and that you will come and avail yourself of all the exhibits and give your kids and your grandkids and your great-grandkids a chance to experience science and things that they can touch and feel and bang on and kick around and whatever. So thank you for watching, and we hope that you enjoyed the show.
I love the Fleet because I get to create and learn and play with my friends and sisters here.
I've been volunteering here for like 7 years. I was a high school teacher in science to begin with, and so basically I'm just doing what I love to do.
Having 3 girls, it's a great place to come and explore science, technology, engineering, and just be creative. It's a perfect place in a developmentally appropriate way to expose kids to science.